I totally understand where they're coming from about I put the jeopardy of the fire rescue in big jeopardy because they could lose their lives too. Why did you arrest my crew? Why did you detain my crew? That's what my crew's there for. I had two Navy SEALs. I mean, these guys had motorized little scooters that you could go in the water with, but they wouldn't let my crew do the rescue. If you're going to do the stunt, you have to have a crew. I'm like, I don't want these guys in businessman shoes at the bottom of the falls, slipping all over the place. They did a fantastic job rescuing Lori and I, but I had a crew that was just as able to do the rescue, but they don't let them down at the bottom of the falls. Well, we had a helicopter filming the overall stunt. We had, because you want to sell, with this kind of $14,700 fine, or next time I go, it's $30,000 fine. You want to sell your video. You want to have a documentary put together. Like 300 hours of film breaks down to about like a 90-minute documentary. So the day of the stunt, that's the last portion of the film you need. And then you can market it, get it out to whatever country wants it or whatever network wants it. And you try to pay for you want to break even. You don't make big money off the falls, but there's ways you can do it, but I've never made more than like 100 grand, after 10 years of shows, it adds up. But you don't make big dough off that stunt. It's for the rush. I don't really care about notoriety. I've jumped up. People look at me as like just a total wild man, Like they call me insane. I might be crazy, but I'm not stupid. I wouldn't be sitting here talking with you all right now. My engineering, my physics is pretty good for a 45-year-old guy, I don't want to do anything where I'm going to get killed or put anyone in jeopardy to them getting killed. I mean, I just think I've been kind of a wild man all my life, but not a hurtful person to anyone. I've never done anyone wrong. I would never hurt anyone or steal from you or anything like that. I just want to, these stunts I do just happen to be illegal. And it's not even the stunt that's the biggest rush, it's getting away with it. Getting away with the stunt, smuggling in the can, it's all covert, it's really cool. It's getting away with it. It's part of the whole stunt thing, the whole aura, I would say. Yeah, the last time, putting it together, just watching it take shape, and then climbing in there and taking little naps in there and really it's a natural wonder of the world, Niagara. And it's just something about those falls. It's hypnotic. If you're looking at the bottom of the falls, it almost captures you. Like it's pulling me back right now. Like I'd love to go over the falls again. Not saying that I would because it's big fines. It's looking for give you $100,000 fine. So I should get up there before they get that. Summer before last, I went up and had a little vacation up there and went to Three Sisters Island. Let me get a sip of water. Three Sisters Island. I go all over those falls. I'm the best tour guide of it all because I know these places the Indians were going 500 years ago. I got a little pass, and if you ever go to Niagara Falls, you want a tour guide, give Stevie T a call. I know the falls like the back of my hand. Well, you got to get a good fiberglass man. I'm a real good glass man, but I'm not perfect. Like Richard Peters, he's the man. He makes like a sphere. Like if you're going to make a ballistic Kevlar or carbon fiber ball, mine would have lumps in it. Richard Peters is perfect. How to pay for your barrel in the weekend? It took me like 8 years of saving my hard-earned bartending money. I put $1,000 away every couple months. Expensive weekend. You got to pay for your crew, all the food, hotel rooms, and film crew. You got to pay for your helicopter pilot, film guy on a camera in the helicopter. I had 3 other angles in 1995. 1985 was like barbaric compared to 1995. 85 only had there wasn't good video cameras back then, unless they're like big Sonys and stuff. But 1995, I took Lori Martin. The first girl I was gonna go, her mom found out. Her name was Shannon. Beautiful girl, blonde hair, beautiful green eyes. She was gonna go, and her mom found out. And her mom called me the day before I was gonna take my barrel up to Niagara from Fort Lauderdale. And she goes, Steve Trotter, if my daughter leaves this state, I will call the Canadian officials and ruin your whole weekend. I'm like, yes, ma'am, your daughter's out. So this other girl, her name was Bunny, she was gonna go, but we got her up to Niagara Falls, and she didn't want to see the falls first. She just wanted to climb in the barrel. And I'm like, oh man, this is kind of shady. I'm like, she was deathly afraid. And Bunny had She had real big boobs, and one boob was couldn't fit in the harness because it was too big, so I couldn't even fit her in the harness because her boobs are so big. So Lori Martin said to me she had cancer a year before she went over the falls, and she goes, Steve Trotter, I knew I was always going to be the one to go over the falls with you. And I'm like, Lush, I call her Lori Lush. I'm like, Lori, you're in. Lush, you're in. And sure enough, we made history June 18th, 1995. First man-woman duo, conquer the falls. Johnny Carson, great man, John. Johnny Carson, 1985, I had the NBC peacock on the side of my barrel. It said Johnny Carson #1 because I watched him all the time. Sure enough, Monday morning, Carson Productions calls me up and asks me to headline the show for Friday night with Roseanne Barr and Gary Busey. It was her first national appearance, too. Johnny Carson, when I was in the green room at Universal, I saw, I heard Steve Trotter. I turned, there's Johnny Carson calling me over. So I went over to a speaker, and I was leaning against a speaker smoking a cigarette with Johnny. He was smoking Marlboro Lights. I was smoking a Newport. And he was just really interested. Johnny Carson was really interested about Niagara Falls. He asked me more questions in the green room than on stage for a Friday night show. And he was just like, knowing that it was the natural wonder of the world, he was just like at awe. He's like, Johnny and I were like friends, just like anyone right now. He was the nicest, good-hearted man. He was not hurtful. And he sent me a Christmas card. Johnny Carson sent me a Christmas card that year. Thanked me for being on his show. It was a great show. It's a great, funny show. You know what? I used to not think I don't like I'm Catholic Christian, so I don't like anything to do with the devil at all. You know, I don't even want to think about it, but I know it's there. And after being called the daredevil for 20-something years, it doesn't bother me. But, you know, I'm not a daredevil. I'm just a guy trying to have some fun before I die, you know? That's fun to me, all this stuff, getting away with these stunts. I don't do them anymore, you know? I'm 45 years old. I'm not going to, I don't want to die. I'm smelling the roses now. I go to bed by midnight every night. Yeah, it is part of history. Going over the falls, it's a natural wonder of the world, like I say, and it's part of history going over the falls. It's been happening since 1901. Annie Edison Taylor was the first person to go over the falls. It was a woman before any man. God bless Annie Taylor. She was like a trendsetter, I guess. But yeah, it's just cool up there, just the action all around the falls. Yeah, first time was August 18th, 1985. It was my grandmother's birthday, and gave her a good birthday present going over the falls. She was freaked out, kind of freaked out. Because, you know, like they heard that I was going to do it, but they never really thought I'd follow through with it. But when I get my mind set on something, I'm going for it. I mean, life's too short. I want to have a good time, you know, so the falls was like the biggest rush of all rushes, all stunts. That's like the highlight of, going over the falls is like the highlight of my life, those mornings that I do that stunt. Oh, no, 1985, they weren't there. 1995, my father was there, my brother was there. You know, trying to get me out of jail and trying to collect the money up for the bail and everything. Yeah, my brother kind of ran the show and helped. Thank God for my brother, because he helped me out with a lot of things to raise money to get me out of jail so I could do my interviews. Yeah, well, you know, what's he gonna do? You know, I was 33, 23, 32 or 33 the second time I went over, you know. And a grown man, he wanted to go up and check it out because he grew up in my dad grew up in Buffalo, so he had been to the falls a lot, and that was the first place he ever took me on vacation. So I'm like, man, Dad, you coming up with us? I'm going to the falls. He's like, I'd love to, Stephen. He came up there, took pictures. He had just the greatest time. He was all proud. His son just went over the falls. Most fathers wouldn't be proud, you know. They'd be like, you're just insane. But my father was really cool. He was a real cool guy. Yeah, absolutely. We're all, our family's full of life, you know. We just like to have a good time and have a good time. Pray a lot and have fun, you know. Just keep yourself going. Adventures. Well, I love adventures. All a good little adventure. Any kind of adventure, whether it be going on a trip or an illegal stunt, any adventure is good with me. I didn't have to smuggle into Canada. I could just keep it on the U.S. side, because 1984 kind of spooked me when I got caught on right before I launched in 1984 on my birthday, November 13th. I got caught by the Canadians, but they let me bring my barrel back into the country. So the next year, I didn't want to risk smuggling over to Canada and getting caught. So I launched from Terrapin Point and went right over the Horseshoe Falls on the American side of the Horseshoe Falls. It was an easier place to launch, and I wouldn't get caught. Inside inside the 1985 barrel, just like in 1995. It's called bubblegum material. It's like memory foam. It's warhead packing, missile packing from the home of the military packing foam fab company in Mansfield, Mass. The owner of the company was like, Steve Trotter, come to my factory. I brought my barrel up there on a Saturday. He was like all gun-ho. He was like my best friend. We glued in all the pieces. And it keeps you in there like a little sardine in your 5-point harness, 5-point dragster harness. But you don't want to be moving a lot inside that barrel because the initial hit, you're falling at like 82 to 85 miles an hour to a dead stop. It'll jar you up. It'll break your bones quick. That's why I got 1995 with Louis, I got a little compression fracture because we hit so hard. I mean, in late 50s, early 60s, Lake Erie was considered almost like a dead lake because of the pollution and all that, and the poison in that pollution broke off these huge pieces of shale stone, which now sits at the bottom of the falls, that produces even more of a mist. I mean, the majority of the water in Niagara is diverted into underwater caverns, tunnels to run hydroelectrics, and that electricity goes to Albany, New York. But about 8:30 in the morning, they shut off the hydroelectric so that all the tourists can see the water. It's not flowing like it was in the early 1900s, but still, it's enough, where you can do the stunt, and it's cool. And you go over those falls, it's like you're floating downstream. You're in there nice, breathing. You're talking to your helicopter pilot. He's telling you which way you're floating downstream so you can tighten either harness up. So he's like talking to me, Stevie T, you're at 100 feet. You're closing on 50 feet. He goes, Stevie T, we love you, pal, but you're going over. And all of a sudden, you're scared as hell. I mean, because if you weren't scared, you'd be insane. I mean, that stunt is scary. But, you get this rush of like, I won't say it's better than sex, but it's pretty close. Sorry, this poison ivy's killing me. I didn't really want to see out. I wanted to be really closed in. I have communication telling me where I am the whole time. Like if I went over a third time, I would definitely have a window inside so I could see what's going on. I'm gonna put 2 P cameras on my face to see the horror expression on my face as I'm going, because it's scary. I mean, it feels like, going over the falls, it feels like you're walking down the hall to the electric chair, but you don't know what's gonna happen. The feeling you have when you go over the falls, it's sheer horror. It's a scary stunt. Your stomach's a little, your stomach isn't really right that morning. I mean, the morning of a stunt like that, I don't eat or anything. I'm just focused on living. You want to live through the stunt. You have to make sure everything's right. People are in the right positions to do the rescue. You got to have your cameras at the angle, and I got to oversee everything. Even though you have a crew chief, but when it comes right down to it, I got to make sure everything's right, because that morning's, it's a scary morning. It's one of the scariest mornings of my life. But afterwards, it's a ball. It's a celebration. Oh yeah, because I have the long hair, so that people recognize me a lot. But if I had short hair, I'd just blend in with everyone. But since I guess I have this long hair, people always know the guy went over the falls the last twice. He had long hair. They come up, and most people are really friendly. They'll ask me about the falls. Oh, people come up to me like at my work. Right by, I'm shucking oysters and bartending at Acme Oyster House in Sandestin, and it's a New Orleans. It was established in New Orleans in 1910. So Acme Oyster House has been open a long time. Right behind me, above where I'm shucking oysters, is a picture of me, Johnny Carson and myself from the Carson Show back in 1985. My brother brought that in there, and they put it up there. So people asking, because I had short hair back then, well, it was like a mullet in the 80s. So people like, that looks like you up there with Johnny Carson. I go, yeah, it's me. They go, tell us. So I tell a story about 100 times a week about I was the first man to go over Niagara Falls, the youngest man to go over Niagara Falls. Then 10 years later, I took Laurie Martin with me. And they go, how was John like? And I tell them about smoking the cigarette in the green room with Johnny. And he sent me a Christmas card, and he was just a great man. I had a great time. Well, you know what? A lot of people are like, that's ridiculous. Why would you do something like that? I'm like, that is so ridiculous. You could hurt yourself. Those people they don't enjoy life like I enjoy life. They're anal, those anal people that have to wipe their shoes off every day just because of a speck of dirt on them or something. I'm laid back, I'm chilling. I like the laid back atmosphere. I don't want to be uptight with anybody.